GR, please continue what you were saying.
So I said, I forgot what I said. So I said the proposition which we make before starting the investigation.
Which we make before starting the research. Another way to say it, that the assumption we made, which we make. Is it true?
Yes, sir.
Before starting our research. So either you use a word assumption, either you use a word statement, either you use the word argument, it all will remain same. So hypothesis, if you want to be on a very, very safe side, hypothesis is any statement that is needed to be tested. So when we carry out any research, when we carry out any scientific investigation, we develop some statements and which we test them. And that is hypothesis. Any statement that is needed to be tested. Normally, there are two types of hypotheses. There are two types of statements that are needed, that are required to be tested. One kind of statement are testable hypotheses. These are statements that can be tested. Another way to say it, these are the claims that people can testable. For example, if someone claims that the volume of the regular bottle of Coca-Cola is 250 ml, if a company claims like this, that the volume of the regular Coke bottle is 250 ml, that statement can be tested, because people, they can just go to the field, they will going to just check all those regular bottles of Coca-Cola for their volume, and then they can decide that whether their claim is true or it's wrong. So that falls in the criteria of testable hypothesis. For example, if someone will claim that malaria, the prevalence of malaria in my country is associated with season. Someone can claim that the prevalence of malaria is maximum during the post-monsoon season, or even during the monsoon season. That claim can be tested. So they are all testable hypotheses. People, they can collect the data, and on the basis of that data, they can decide whether that claim is true or false. There are other statements as well that are required to be tested, but they are not testable. And we name those statements as non-testable hypotheses. These are popular claims, but they cannot be verified. For example, if someone will going to carry out go out and say that, okay, 250 million years ago, that area was occupied by, let's suppose, water, something, it can be anything. So that is a statement that is required to be tested because it's a popular claim. And people, they want to know that whether that claim is true or false. That is required to be tested, but that's not testable. We cannot go 250 million years back and look for those concrete evidence to declare it absolutely wrong or to declare it correct. So in statistics, we only deal, although that's once again it's a hypothesis. Non-testable statements are also hypotheses, but in statistics, we only deal with testable hypotheses. When it comes to the statistics and the testable hypothesis, those statements, they are not single statements. At any time, whenever you are going to develop a hypothesis for statistical testing, it cannot be a single statement. Rather, that hypothesis is always developed in the form of a pair. So you always have a pair of statements. And those pairs, they are always mutually exclusive. What do I mean by this? That any statement that is a part of one pair cannot, anything that is a part of one pair cannot be a part of second pair. And at the same time, that pair of statements is overall inclusive. What do I mean by the overall inclusive? That this pair of statement covers the every possible scenario that can be in an outcome. They must need to be mutually exclusive as well as overall. When we include both of them, they need to cover every possible scenario that can appear as an outcome. So when we develop a hypothesis for statistical testing, it cannot be a single statement. So it's always in the form of pair. One member of pair, we name it as the null hypothesis. And the other member of that pair, we name it as the alternate hypothesis. So for statistical testing, we always develop the hypothesis in the form of pair. One member of pair is null hypothesis, another member of pair is alternate hypothesis. Is it clear? If you have any questions, just feel comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
In order to create things uniform, because there will be so many people around the world, they will be conducting a research. So in order to keep things uniform, there is a fixed criteria. So the criteria is fixed, it's not random, you are not free. There is a fixed criteria worldwide for the statements that can be a part of your null hypothesis or alternate hypothesis. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Something
Yes, sir.
went wrong with my pencil, so thought maybe I lost my connection. So fixed criteria. You are not free. Very, very important concept. What do I mean by this? That I just want to give you an example. For example, if you want to see an association of malaria with season, and in order to test it, you have to develop a null hypothesis, and H0 or H naught, we represent null hypothesis by H naught and alternate hypothesis by HA. So now you need to develop your null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. If I will ask you, what will be your null hypothesis? If there would not be any criteria, because the statistical testing would be same, at any time one will going to say that malaria associated with the disease in the portion of null hypothesis, and in alternate hypothesis the person is not associated with the disease. Another person may write a word like malaria is not associated here and associated here, and once you are going to carry out the test, it will either going to accept the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis. So as in order to keep the system uniform, we have certain criteria that can be a part of your null hypothesis, so that worldwide we have the uniform system, and that can be part of your alternate hypothesis. So for null hypothesis, the criteria is following. And now I will going to write down a strange English, and then I will going to explain why I wrote this. For me, the criteria for null hypothesis is null means 0, 0 means equal, equal means no cause, no effect, no cause, no effect mean no predictor, no outcome, so these statements, they can be the statement that means these words, they can be a part of your null hypothesis. And for alternate hypothesis, You have criteria for statements. Anything that includes the sign of not equal, that includes the sign of less, that includes the sign of greater, that includes something that is telling you it's a cause and effect relationship, it's a predictor outcome relationship, all these statements, they can be part of your alternate hypothesis. So these are the statements. If any of those statements that justifies any of that criteria will be considered as alternate. So as equal, so anything that is equal and greater, that is along with equal, either it's equal or greater, that will be part of your null hypothesis. So anything that includes a sign of equal, either it's with less or with a sign of greater, does not make any difference. That will be in the section of your null hypothesis. And anything that is not equal, greater, less, cause and effect, predictor and outcome, that will be your alternate hypothesis. So once that criteria has been fixed and you remember that if any of these criteria will fall on any of them, these are the statements that can be null hypothesis, and these are the statements that can be alternate hypothesis. So once you remember this criteria, it's very, very easy for you to develop the null and alternate hypothesis. So for my example, association of malaria with season. If someone wants to test the null hypothesis, want to test the association of the season with malarial disease, the null hypothesis will always be like this, that malaria has no association with season. So that will be null hypothesis. So anyone who is going to work on the malarial association with the season, he will have always null hypothesis like this, that there is no association of the malaria with season. He may change the sentence, but the overall message will remain same, that malaria is not associated with the season, and that's null hypothesis. While in case of alternate hypothesis, you will have a statement that malaria is associated with season. So if you test these two statements, they are mutually exclusive. Anything that is part of null hypothesis is not a part of alternate hypothesis. At the same time, overall they are inclusive, that they covers every possible scenario. There are two possibilities in nature that are possible. Either malaria is associated with disease or it's not associated with that disease. I will going to give you another example. For example, if I am interested to test, if the government authorities, they are interested to test that the volume of regular bottle of Coke is equal to 250 ml. What will be the null hypothesis? Now it's a question from you. And what will be the alternate hypothesis? If anyone from any part of the world is going to conduct that research. Please answer me if you are present.
The null hypothesis will be that the regular bottle of Coke does not have volume equal to 250 ml, and the alternative hypothesis will be that it has 250 ml volume.
When it comes to the equality, null hypothesis shows the equality, sign of equal, and alternate hypothesis shows a sign of not equal. Any statement that telling you that something is not equal is a part of alternate hypothesis, and anything that tells you that it's equal is a part of Null means equal. So now please use these clues to develop a hypothesis. Develop it.
So the statements will be reversed.
Yes, that the volume of regular Coke bottle, average volume of regular Coke bottle is equal to 250, because anything that includes the sign of equal is a null. And then your alternate hypothesis is volume of regular Coke bottle is not equal to 250, because not equal comes in alternate hypothesis, equal comes in null hypothesis. Once again, they are mutually exclusive as well as overall inclusive. Now I want to give you another example. If someone wants to test the association of smoking with cancer, what will be the null hypothesis?
It will be smoking causes cancer.
What will be null hypothesis?
It will be smoking causes cancer.
Any statement that shows no cause is a part of null hypothesis. So your null hypothesis will be smoking is not a cause of cancer. Any statement that shows no effect, no cause is null hypothesis. I think that I covered it as well. No cause, no effect. Smoking is not a cause of cancer. And what will be your alternate hypothesis?
The opposite.
Smoking is cause of cancer. Hopefully not. For example, sometimes you have to conduct a research that does not relate to the equality, that does not relate to cause and effect. For example, if the government authorities, they want to test the fuel station, and they test the fuel station for their volume of 1 liter. One liter petrol, let's suppose. You know that now we see frequent news that whatever the fuel station they offer, 1 liter petrol is not actually equal to one, is less than 1 liter. And the health authorities, they want to test that, is it something systematic going on there, or it's just a random? So that statement is required to be tested. So volume of 1 liter of petrol of a station, a fuel station of any company, is equal to 1000 ml. So what will be the null hypothesis? And what will be the alternate hypothesis?
The null hypothesis will be that it is equal to 1000 ml or 1 liter.
So average volume of their petrol is equal to 1 liter petrol is equal to, I'm just using the mu sign, 1000 ml. And the alternate hypothesis is that average volume of their 1 liter petrol or fuel station is not equal to 1000 ml. But if you go with that result, that it's not equal, maybe there is going to claim that, okay, maybe it's not equal to 1000, but it's greater than 1000. In that case, you cannot have any claim if they are offering some fuel free of cost. In that case, normally we test it for only lesser volume. And when we need to test something for only lesser volume, we just develop the null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis in a different way. So now my objective will be like this. I want to test that volume of 1 liter petrol, a fuel stations of a company is not less than 1000 ml. That's more appropriate. In that case, they can have the penalty if we are sure. What will be the null hypothesis? So here we just test them for lesser value. Lesser mean on the lower side only. We do not care if they are offering something extra. What will be the null hypothesis? That the average volume of 1 liter petrol is equal to or greater than 1000 ml, because any statement that has in it equal to or greater than sign is a part of null hypothesis. This is the scheme I have written previously during my lecture. And what will be the alternate hypothesis? 1 liter petrol. Any volunteer in this class? Just feel free. What will be the alternate hypothesis?
Isn't it going to remain the same as the previous one?
How it can be remembered? If I will going to use not equal sign, in that case, they must not be mutually exclusive, because equal sign is present in the null hypothesis. Greater sign is present in the null hypothesis. They must be mutually exclusive. That's the criteria. So it will be less than 1000 ml. So they are mutually exclusive, as well as overall you can have only 3 possibilities. It can be equal to 1000, it can be greater than 1000, and it can be less than 1000. Is it clear? Anyone has any question regarding this? Just feel comfortable and ask. Do you have any question? Sometimes we work with obesity. Another example. And normally when we look at the BMI at present, I think anything that is greater than 30, if the body mass index is greater than 30, we declare it obese. And anything less than 30 has nothing to do with that. Hopefully these are the readings. So if I want to test some population for obesity, in that case I have a criteria like this. So what will be my null hypothesis? That the average weight of a population, average BMI of a population. What will be my null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis? If I want to test with reference to BMI with obesity, whether some population is obese or not.
Null hypothesis will be that BMI is equal to 30.
Is equal to or less than 30, because if something is less than 30, still it's very, very much acceptable. And what will be the alternate hypothesis?
BMI is greater than 30.
In that case, both are. So here I can only have rejection on the higher side. And in previous example, I can have rejection only on lower side. While in case of equal, I have rejection both on higher side as well as lower side. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it absolutely clear?
Yes, sir.
So when we test the null hypothesis, when we carry out any statistical testing and we test the hypothesis, at the end of our testing, we have two options. Either we accept the null hypothesis or we reject the null hypothesis. When we reject the null hypothesis, that means we accept the alternate hypothesis. That is, H is accepted. And when we accept the null hypothesis, we simply reject the alternate hypothesis. So it's only one situation, that either we accept the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis. In statistical testing, all those statistical tests, used for hypothesis testing, they seek evidences, they look for the evidences to reject the null hypothesis. All of your statistical tests, they look for the evidences to reject the null hypothesis. Another way to say it, that your statistical testing never proves a null hypothesis. That also correlates with a thing which we used to discuss during the classes, that science never proves anything, it always rejects. So all statistical tests used for hypothesis testing, they simply look for the evidences to reject a null hypothesis. They never ever prove a null hypothesis. What does this mean? This means that even if we accept the null hypothesis, when we do not have the evidences to reject the null hypothesis, in that case, we have to accept the null hypothesis. Even when we accept the null hypothesis, that does not mean that we declare null hypothesis true. We declare it true. That's very important concept. Even when we accept the null hypothesis, this does not mean we declare it true. Rather, what we really mean in statistical testing, that we do not have the sufficient evidences. To reject the null hypothesis. As we do not have the sufficient evidences to reject it, so we are accepting it. But accepting it does not mean it's true. Simply we fail to find anything. We fail to find any evidence that could reject it. So we are accepting it, but we are never ever declaring true. We never ever prove a null hypothesis. And I will going to explain this by an example. Have you ever heard about a crow?
Yes, sir.
Thirsty crow. I think that bird will be your favorite bird for most of the class. For example, if someone claims that crows of the all world, they are black. They are black in color. And the person tries to prove it by gathering a data from black crows only, from black crows. Let's suppose if a person collects a data and the sample size is 100 and all those crows, they are black in color, do you think he can say with certainty that all the crows in the world, they are black in color?
No, sir.
Let's suppose the person visited all continents and collected a data of maybe 10 million crows, and they are all black in color. Do you think it's the person with a certainty can claim that all the crows of the world, they are black in color? He has a data of 10 million crows and they are all black in color. Do you think with certainty, after visiting all the continents, that the person can claim that all the crows of the world, they are black in color?
Still, not every crow is included, so we cannot.
So even if he will going to collect a data of, maybe it's, I do not know about their population. Let's suppose he collects a data of 50 million crows around the world. And all of those black crows, all of those crows, they are black in color. I think this is my third or fourth, fifth class. I have a class in MPhil, I have a class in Master, so I'm teaching all the time. So please, if you have some questions, just feel free and ask, otherwise do not create distortion. So even if the person has a data of 50 million crows, do you think with certainty the person can claim that all the crows, they are black in color?
Maybe.
Maybe there is a crow at any part of the world and that crow is white in color. Maybe some another color. Let's make it like pink, blue, brown. These are all colors I know, like red, orange, blah, blah, blah. Maybe there is one crow around the world and that crow was missed by that person. There is possibility that exists. Do you think is it true?
Yes, sir, he cannot claim that.
With certainty, the person cannot claim it. Because there is always a possibility that maybe he missed something. So what I wanted to say from all that, that it does not make any difference how much data you have, what sample size you have. If you try to prove the null hypothesis, you cannot prove it with certainty. But if someone else just collect our data and he just from somewhere, some part of the world, he manages to find a single white crow, do you think the person with certainty can reject that all the crows of the world, they are not black in color? Please respond. If someone manages to find a single crow, maybe that sample size is, he just collected a data of 6 crows, and among them he found one of some another color other than black, maybe brown, pink, anything. Do you think that person can, with a certainty, can reject it that all the crows of the world, they are not black in color?
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can do it with a certainty because he can reject it. And he can reject it with a very small sample. That's the concept. When you test the null hypothesis, you cannot prove the null hypothesis. Rather, you look for the evidences to reject the null hypothesis. And when you reject the null hypothesis, you are confident that null hypothesis is wrong. And when you fail to find those evidence, in that case, you just have to accept it. But acceptance means I do not know anything. I fail to find any evidence against it. But there is a possibility that there is something against it that exists. That's why when you reject the null hypothesis, people, they say that they have a significant results. They have a finding in their hand, and especially with reference to MPhil scholars, a lot of supervisors, they insist that your results should be significant. And if they accept all the null hypotheses of all those questions, and the supervisor will going to simply say that your results, they are non-significant. Non-significant means they are not informative. Because when you accept the null hypothesis, you are not claiming that this null hypothesis is true. You are claiming that I do not have any evidence to reject it. That's why I am accepting it. That's why when you accept the null hypothesis, your results, you declare it non-significant. And when you reject it, significant. That's why your alternate hypothesis is also named as the experimental hypothesis. Another name for alternate hypothesis is the experimental hypothesis. Because at any time when you try to test anything, you always have something in your mind. You suspect something. And whatever you suspect is actually your alternate hypothesis. For example, if you want to see the association of smoking with cancer, you suspect that smoking causes cancer. And that is your alternate hypothesis. When you want to test the fuel station for their 1000, you suspect those fuel stations that they are not offering 1000 ml. And that is your alternate hypothesis. When you see the association of the malaria with season, you have doubt in your mind that, okay, you think that the season is influencing. You never ever going to conduct a research like that. You want to see the association of the malaria with your degree program. Whether you are enrolled in zoology, whether you are enrolled in chemistry or somewhere else. No, nothing. No one is conducting a research like this. That's why another name for the alternate hypothesis is always experimental hypothesis. We test those statements, and those statements, they can be developed on the basis of observation. They can be some, they are famous statements, they can be anything. And if you look at those statements, those all statements, they are actually alternate hypotheses. And the researcher is suspecting that kind of thing. So in statistical testing, we look for the evidences to reject the null hypothesis. When we accept the null hypothesis, that means we fail to find any evidence to reject the null hypothesis. In that case, we simply accept it. Acceptance does not mean true. Acceptance, when you accept the null hypothesis, that means you do not have any finding. That's why your results, they are non-significant. Is it absolutely clear?
Yes, sir.
Do you need any further explanation?
No, sir. Not for me.
And now we're going to start another topic. Errors in the hypothesis. Just
सर कितने घंटे की क्लास होगी आपकी?
there is a distortion in your voice. I failed to
सर
listen.
में दर्द
सर आज के लिए इतना बहुत है.
I could not hear you.
सर फोन की तरफ देख देख के आंखें तक जाती हैं, पानी आ जाता है.
I failed to hear you anything. I cannot hear anything.
सर में दर्द हो
सर
जाता है.
इसकी ना
Please mute your mic and then just try to focus on my lecture.
So isn't your laptop's charging